Hello everyone. Today we are going to see Class B power amplifier analysis in detail. Before doing the analysis part, let us know about or let us revise about what is Class B power amplifier. We know that for Class B power amplifier, we are going to select our operating point, that is quiescent point, on the x-axis itself. Whereas in Class A power amplifier, we have seen that we have selected the operating point just above, uh, exactly on the center of the load line. Whereas in case of Class B, as we are selecting the operating point on the x-axis itself, that is, here I'm going to select my Q point in my Class B. Therefore, what happen is, let us say this is your input and the output is obtained only for the half of this cycle, and for other half will be getting clipped off. That means there is no output for the another half of the input cycle applied. That means output will not be obtained entirely for the 360 degrees, whereas the output is obtained only for 180 degrees. Only one part of the signal will be present at the output, another part will get clipped off. This is what your Class B power amplifier is. That means the way we define our Class B power amplifier on the basis of their operating point selection is on the x-axis itself, due to which, that means we have selected the operating point on the cutoff region. So only one part of the signal get clipped off and one part of the signal will be obtained. Therefore, in case of Class B power amplifier, if you compare with a Class A power amplifier, in Class A power amplifier, whether it is a series fed directly coupled or transformer coupled Class A power amplifier, we need only one transistor, because that one transistor was capable of giving the output for entire duration of the input cycle. But whereas because of the selection of your operating point on the x-axis, one transistor will give only output for one half of the cycle, not for the rest half of the cycle. Because of that, we want two transistors which works alternatively, and the output will be obtained for the entire duration of cycle. Therefore, Class B power amplifier will be needing two transistors, so that output will be obtained for entire duration of the input cycles. And we have to assume that, or we should take the two transistors, they should be identical in their characteristics. In other terms, we call those transistors which are ideally or identical in their characteristics, they are called as matched transistors. Now, depending upon the two types of transistors, whether you use a PNP or NPN, this Class B power amplifier, two types of configurations are possible. One is push-pull Class B power amplifier, and other is complementary symmetry Class B power amplifiers. Now, that means which type of transistors we are going to have, whether they are of same type or they are of different types. On that basis, we have two types of Class B power amplifier. One is push-pull Class B, other is complementary symmetry. In case of push-pull Class B power amplifier, both the transistors are of same type. That means the Q1 transistor is of PNP, then Q2 is also of PNP, and vice versa. If Q1 is of NPN, Q2 should be of NPN type. And this circuit is called as a push-pull Class AB AF power amplifier circuit, audio frequency power amplifier circuit. Why we are calling it as push-pull, we'll come to know. Now another type is called as complementary symmetry Class B power amplifier. Here in this, both the transistors, what are the two transistors which we are using, they are of complementary pair. That means if one is of PNP, the other transistor should be of NPN, and vice versa. Therefore, this circuit is called as a complementary. And why symmetry? Because the two transistors which we are using, we are going to have the symmetrical biasings for both the transistor. That's the reason it is called as complementary symmetry Class B power amplifier circuit. With this brief, let us start this discussion on your Class B power amplifier in detail. Now this is the circuit diagram of Class B push-pull power amplifier. Here, as we know that this push-pull requires two transformers, push-pull. requires two transformer, one as an input transformer which we are calling it as a driver transformer, the other is the output transformer which we are this is nothing but your load transformer or output transformer. The input signal we are applying to the primary of this driver transformer, and output we are going to take over here at the secondary winding of the output transformer. This both the transformer, if you observe, they are center tapped transformer. Both these transformers are center tapped transformer. Now in this circuit, this both Q1 and Q2, they are of NPN type. Q1 and Q2 are of NPN type. We can make it as a PNP type even, only the change is what are the supply voltages we are considering, that should be reversed. That means instead of plus VCC I should make it minus VCC, and the remaining circuit will remain same if you want to make use of this circuit as a PN. Okay. Generally we know that we are using a NPN transistors because of its own advantages, and both these transistors are in common emitter configuration. Here you can see that to the base you are applying the input, your emitter is grounded, and across the collector you are going to take the output. So they are NPN transistors. Q1 and Q2 are NPN, and NPN transistors are of same type, same configuration, that is common emitter. Two transformer, one as a input, that is driver, other as a output. Both the transformers are center tapped. Because of that, the different voltages for one half and other half will be appeared at the inputs and outputs respectively. And now this driver transformer will be driving the circuit. The input we are applying to the primary of this driver transformer. This center tap on this secondary of the driver transformer is grounded, as you can see. Because of that, the center tap of the primary of this output transformer is connected to the this you can see the center tap of this primary secondary winding or output transformer is connected to the plus VCC. Now with respect to the center tap, as let us say here you are applying this input at the primary winding. Now because of this transform winding we are going to get a signal something like this, and because of this center tap what happens is, for this part if we are getting a positive signal with respect to your B point, what it means, if it is positive it will be a negative because of this center tapping of this transformer. Why? Because we know that our this is your class circuit diagram of class B power amplifier. This is a circuit diagram of class B, and in class B we know that we have selected our operating point on the x-axis. Because of that, only one part of the input is present at the output side. That's the reason we want two transistors. Now two transistors, they have to work alternatively, one after the another, not simultaneously. That's the reason I have used a transformer. I have center tapped them so that when input is applied, only one part of the transistor will be operational and other will be off, and vice versa, so that at the end of the day I'm going to get both the outputs for the given input. That means I can say with respect to the center tap, for a positive half cycle of the input signal, the point A on the secondary of this driver transformer will be a positive, while the point B on the other end will be a negative. Thus the voltages in the two half, this is one half, this is another half, of the secondary of the driver transformer will be equal in magnitude. That means it is plus 5, this is minus 5, equal in amplitude but with opposite polarity. Therefore the input signal which we are applying to the base of the transistors Q1 and Q2 will be always 180 degree out of phase, and we know that both are of NPN type. So what happens here is when you have applied positive half cycle, this P is connected to the positive and here negative is connected to the P. So Q2 will be cut off, Q1 will be it is in on, it is in forward bias. Therefore this transistor will be in on, this transistor will be off. That means transistor, I can draw the circuit something like this. You can, this part what I know, here I have given some input. This is my Q1 and this is my Q2. So when my positive half cycle comes, that time what happens is this point will be a positive and this point will be a negative. Because of that Q1 will getting conduct, that means output will be produced. But when negative comes, because of this transistors will be in a cutoff region, it will be open circuit, okay, it will be off, therefore the output is 0. And then okay, that means the output is only for positive half. Now here I can say here you have connected a load, and then when negative half cycle comes, this transistor will be off. That means here the output is this 0, whereas when Q2 will be on, that means this is 0 and here I'll get the output something like this. Now if you see what at the when positive half cycle comes, this was the output and this is the output in the first case. In the second case, this is the output, this is the output, therefore I am going to get this negative half cycle even. That means when I am collecting this both the things, I am going to get the output for entire duration of this cycle. That means both the half cycles will be produced at the output side. That means when point A is positive, Q1 will be get into the active region and Q2 will be in a cutoff region. While A point is negative, then and B point is positive, then Q1 will be in off, Q2 will be on an active region, and then we are going to get this output something like this. That means you can have the, let us say this is your actual input, okay, and then the Q1 output, if I am drawing the Q1 output is like this. Q2 output if I draw, and put together, if I get the total output, if I am joining this, adding this Q1 and Q2, I am going to get the output for the complete cycle. That means this is my actual input, this is output of Q1, this is output of Q2, and this is the total output. Here the important thing which you have to note is for this output transformer, okay, here you can see the number of turns on each half of this primary is each half of this primary. There are two halves I have done because it is a center tap. So on each half it is N1 and this is one more N1, right? That means here the number of turns on the primary side of the output transformer is 2N1, and the secondary winding you have the number of turns as a N2. That means total number of the turns in the primary is 2N1 and the total number of secondary is N2. Therefore the turns ratio is 2N1 is to N2. Okay, so this is how we are going to get the entire output for the class B power amplifier. So now let us do the analysis for it. Let us start with the DC operation. Why? Ultimately my aim is to find out the efficiency. What is efficiency? PAC by PDC. So I should know PDC, I should know PAC, then only I can get efficiency. That's why my procedure is so. Now what we know for this class B power amplifier, the DC biasing point, that is your Q point, where you have adjusted on the x-axis. When you make this operating point on the x-axis, what it means, you are making your VCEQ is nothing but your VCC. And what is your ICQ? Your ICQ is 0. That means when I'm going to get the coordinates for this, what will be my coordinates? My coordinates will be VCC comma 0, because this is my voltage, this is my current is 0 and the voltage is VCC. Fine. Now let us say the DC input power. DC input power. What we know, each transistor output is in the form of rectified waveform. If you see this, if you have an idea about rectifier, if you remember about rectifier, what we know, uh, for the rectifier we are going to right, or simply say, if you are applying a diode with some voltage, okay, then what kind of output we are going to get is, this is the input and this is what my output is, right? So if you remember that, we know that as our transistor also we make to work it in a cutoff region. So what happened is, your output is a kind of half rectified waveform, and we know that when it is a half, it is a kind of rectification, then your IM is the peak value of your output current of each transistor, right? So what is your IDC I can get? We know that IDC equals to IM by pi, right? Because of what? From the you got the output as a half rectified. That's why. That means the two currents which are going to get by the two transistors from the DC supply, they are in the same direction, right? Hence the total DC current or total average current drawn from the supply will be nothing but the algebraic sum of the individual average currents drawn by the each transistor. Like in the, as we know that here we can see, this will give me Im by pi, this will give me Im by pi. So in that way I'm going to get 2 Im by pi, right? So the same thing I have written here, IDC equals to Im by pi plus Im by pi, that is nothing but 2 Im by pi. That means the total DC power input will be nothing but P equals to V into I. So what is that DC power, DC input power I want? So PDC equals, what is the DC voltage you have given? VCC. What is the current obtained? Is your IDC. Now what is your IDC? Is nothing but 2 Im by pi. So what will be your DC input power? Is PDC is equals to 2 Im by pi into VCC. So this is the input DC power which I get for the class B power amplifier. Same way we have to do the AC analysis. What we know for AC analysis? AC, we are going to apply the AC signal to the driver transformer, right? We are going to apply the AC to the driver transformer. For positive half cycle, Q1 conducts and the path of the current will be from here to here. For negative half cycle, Q2 conducts and the path will be like this. That means when Q1 is conducting, the lower half, when Q1 is conducting, the lower half, this half of the primary, the lower half of the primary of your output transformer will not have any current, and only N1 number of turns carry the current, while Q2 conducts, the upper half of the primary does not carry any current, hence again only N1 number of turns carry the current. Therefore the reflected impedance on your primary can be written as RL dash equals to RL by N square. If you remember, it is something like your transformer coupled class A power amplifier. Why? Because you can see when it is here, you have made the center tap with VCC. This is N1, this is N1, right? So now this both, actually the number of turns ratio is 2 N1. But here what happens is, at when one cycle is coming, positive half is coming, only one transistor is operation, other is not. So obviously the number of terms will be coming to the picture is your n1 only. So now it is something like this only. What is that? Here is your load, nothing but your loudspeaker. And this, when this ideal transformer rate is, right, this is n1, this is n2, then what happens, this RL will get reflected at the input side even, nothing but your RL dash, and this is what the relationship between RL dash and RL. So now what we have written is, as we know that, what we know, the step down ratios are 2 n1 is to n2, but while calculating your reflected load, the what was your ratio was simply n2 by n1. That means each transistors are sharing equal load, which is the reflected load, that is your RL dash. So when we are going to draw the AC load line analysis, what we know is, this is what your DC load line, and right, and this is what your AC load line, AC load line, and this AC load line have a slope of -1 by RL dash. And if you extend these lines, what we observe, here you are getting output for half, here also you are getting output for half. Therefore what I can write is 1 by RL dash is nothing but Im by Vm, because the slope of your AC load line, right, can be represented in terms of your Vm. This is your Vm, this is your Im. So RL dash is nothing but Vm by Im, where Im is what? Peak value of collector current. Now we have to do the AC power outputs. What we know, your Im and Vm are the peak values of the output current and output voltages respectively. Then I can find out Vrms and Irms, because I know the relationship between Vrms and Vm is nothing but Vm equals to under root 2 Vrms, that is nothing but Vrms is equals to Vm by root 2, and Irms is equals to Im by root 2. Now the AC output power can be expressed as PSC equals to Vrms into Irms. Put the Vrms nothing but Irms into RL dash. You will get PSC in terms of Vrms is this. Again, if you go calculating using peak values, it is Vm Im. If you are going to calculate with peak to peak values, it is V peak to peak or Vp. So now what I can get from here is, if I use a peak values, my PSC equals to Vm square by 2 RL dash, which that means this is I can do with this also, okay. But now here I am following the same protocol which I have followed for the class A power amplifiers even. So now this is my AC and I know my PDC. What is my PDC? This is my PDC, and sorry, so I have my PSC and PDC values. Now I am going to derive my efficiency. So what my PSC was, Vm Im by 2, and what is my PDC is 2 by pi VCC into Im. So if I solve this, I'll get efficiency equals to pi by 4 into Vm by VCC. Again here we want to know, because we had the formula for efficiency for class B power amplifier, which was pi by 4 Vm by Vcc, right? Now I want to know the maximum efficiency. What was my graph was for AC load line is like this. This is my DC load line. Now I want maximum swing, means this is what my maximum swing which is possible, which is nothing but this is my 0, and this is my Vm, which is equals to Vcc, because it is Vcc. This is my output characteristics VCE, this is my output current IC. That means from this figure you can clearly say that the peak value for the collector voltage Vm will be increasing. Then what happens? Your efficiency increases. That means what was the formula here you had? Here you can see when my Vm increases, my efficiency increases, right? That means Vm equals to Vcc to get the maximum efficiency. I want to increase the efficiency, I should have a Vm. Vm increases, efficiency increases. So when I make Vm equals to Vcc, my efficiency will getting increase. So what happens is percentage of maximum efficiency pi by 4 Vm by Vcc. Now Vm I have replaced by Vcc. So my answer is pi by 4, nothing but 78.5. That means the maximum possible theoretical efficiency, these are all theoretical efficiency, right? When you do the practical experiments, obviously the efficiency obtained will be less than the theoretical value which we derived, is 78.5%, which is quite high than the transformer coupled class A and series fed directly coupled class A power amplifiers. Now the last topic is your power dissipations. Always we are interested to find out the power dissipations. Now we are using the two transistors in the class B power amplifier. So the power dissipation by both the transistors is nothing but the difference between your AC power and DC power. This formula is remain same for class A series fed transformer coupled, class B push-pull and complementary symmetry, because power dissipation nothing but the difference between the power delivered to the load and the actual input power which we have. So now as we have the PDC and PAC values, if I substitute those values, what I can get is, these are all known to us, what is PDC and what is PAC. PAC is Vm Im by 2, PDC is 2 VCC Im by pi. So now if you solve this, you will get power dissipation equals to PD equals to 2 by pi VCC Vm RL dash minus Vm square by 2 RL dash. Now we want to know what is the maximum power dissipation. Okay, that means when I at what point or what is the maximum power dissipation ratings for my class B power amplifier. So for that what we are going to do is, what we know, if you recall, in class A power amplifier, when I got maximum power dissipation when there is no AC input, that means in absence of AC input I got the maximum power dissipation. But in class B operation, when the input signal is 0, when your input signal is 0, the power dissipation is 0. Quite reverse in case of class B compared to class A. And we are not getting the maximum power dissipation when your Vin equals to 0. In class A, when Vin, that means when there is no AC input, AC equals to 0, then this PD equals to PDC minus PAC, as it was completely 0, it was simply VCC into ICQ. That means this is what the maximum power dissipation I got for class A. But I can't do the same thing in case of, that means I won't get maximum power dissipation if I have a AC equals to 0, that means input equals to 0. Okay, so I want to know the maximum power dissipation for that. For that reason, what did I do is, I have taken the differentiation, okay, with respect to your Vm, and trying to equate it equals to 0. So if you see here, what is this? PD equals to 2 by pi VCC into Vm by RL dash minus Vm square by 2 RL dash. For this power dissipation equation, I am differentiating this equation. With respect to your Vm, and trying to equate it equals to 0, and then I'll get my maximum power dissipation. So we can see that this complete term is constant, so and this is this. So if I rearrange, I can get my Vm equals to 2 by pi VCC. That means what I'm calculating here from this, what should be my input voltage, so that I will get maximum power dissipation. So there in case of class A it was Vm equals to 0, and here I want Vm equals to 2 by pi VCC, then only I'll get maximum power dissipation. So now this Vm value, if you substitute in this, then what I'm going to get is simply you just write down these things. You have maximum power dissipation, this you are going to substitute wherever you have Vm, that is 2 VCC by pi, and then after solving, the PD max will be 2 by pi square into VCC square by RL dash. That means for maximum efficiency your Vm equals to VCC. That means power dissipation will not be max when the efficiency is max. Remember that your power dissipation will not be maximum when the efficiency is maximum. That means power dissipation is maximum when efficiency is not maximum. That means they are inversely proportional. That means maximum efficiency and maximum power dissipation is not happened simultaneously in class B power amplifier. So the point to be noted here is, in case of class B power amplifier, both the things, that is power dissipation and efficiency, will not be achieved simultaneously. They are not maximum simultaneously. They have inverse relation. If you want power dissipation max, your efficiency should be minimum, and vice versa. With this analysis, we are going to conclude the class B power amplifier with its advantages and disadvantages. So what we can see in case of class B push-pull power amplifier is the efficiency is quite high compared to class A. Okay, and when because of transformer we have a quite good impedance matching, and the even harmonics will get cancelled, and because of that your harmonic distortion reduces. And when we don't have any input, that means when there is when there is absence of AC input signal, then the mm, power dissipation will be zero, which is quite opposite than that of class A power amplifier. And what we know at the last is, what are the DC current components which are flowing. Okay, they are in opposite direction through your primary windings, and therefore there is no possibility of getting your DC saturation of the core, because we have assumed that the windings are quite ideal. Because of that the resistances are zero, and therefore no current flows through it, and therefore no wastage of power. And one more thing quite interesting is, whatever the ripples are there in your supply voltage will also get eliminated if we go for class B push-pull power amplifiers. But again, the disadvantages of class B power amplifier is, as a transformer circuit is heavy, bulky, costly, and we want two transformer, and that two transformers are center tap transformers you needed, and because of transformer we'll be having poor frequency response. So this is all about today's class, that is class A push pull power amplifier. Thank you for the patience listening.